Alright, so we're going to do a password recovery inside of a Cisco router and packet tracer. You can do this on real equipment, or also you can actually do it in packet tracer itself. So we're going to do a custom-made device, and we're going to pull up a router. So the 2011 is one we're going to take a look at. Also, we're going to attach a PC straight on the line as well. We're going to attach the PC based on a console port, so we'll just plug in a console straight from the router, go to the PC. Remember, RS-232, this is your console port that's going from the router to the PC. This is where you have your little serial connection on the PC. If you have a real PC, you can use something like a USB adapter if you don't actually have a console port on the PC. A lot of PCs don't come with a console port anymore. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to hop onto the router, go into CLI mode, and let's give this thing a name. Enable config T mode. We're going to give the host name of something like lockdown. The reason we're doing this is because we're going to be able to see when this name comes up, when it doesn't come up, in terms of how we're breaking into the router. Next, I'm going to create an enable secret. The enable secret on this device, I'm just going to make something I'll never remember. So just smash the keyboard a little bit, and you get a crazy password that you're never going to remember. So that would be my enable secret. And the worst thing you could ever do right now is save it and log out. So I just saved that horrible enable secret password. I logged out. Now I try to get back into my lockdown router, and it wants that enable secret, and I have no idea what it was. So we need to break into this thing. It's very easy to break into a Cisco router. The key is you just have to have your hands on it. So you physically have to have it in order to be able to break it with this. There's other ways you can try to break in remotely, yes, but that's not what we're covering in this course. So we call it password recovery, how to get in when you're locked out of your own device. So step one, take our PC here that has a console connection to the router. We're going to use something like terminal mode. You could use a program like HyperTerminal. You can use PuTTY now, even has a terminal mode built into it. So we use terminal. I'm going to leave it all at defaults. Click OK. And here I am. I'm HyperTerminaled from the PC into the router on the router's console port. So now that we have console access, we still can't get in because we don't have that password. So we need to actually reboot the router. And as the router goes to reboot, we're going to have to break it. What I mean by breaking it is not hitting it with something. We actually need to break the boot sequence. It's kind of like when your PC goes to boot in the morning, and when it starts to boot up, and you break the boot sequence to get into BIOS. Same type of thing with the router. So I'm going to power cycle the router off, on. As the router starts to come up again, you see the router is booting. You're going to hold Control, and you're going to tap the break key in the top right corner of your keyboard. When you do that, you're going to get a status message, and it says right here, monitor, which means it's monitoring out like a logging message, giving you what's happening. It's almost like syslog. The command boot, the actual boot command, has been aborted due to my interrupt, because I'm the user. It's very easy now to take the next steps. What we're going to do is we're going to type in confreg. It's one word, C-O-N-F-R-E-G. Confreg is actually just a modifier command, and what we're modifying, we're actually modifying the commands used when the router boots. So we're configuring this register value. This register value is 0x2142. What this command is telling the router to do, it says when you try to boot up, I want you to bypass the startup config. Don't even load it. Don't even look for it. Remember, the startup config is where you have all your passwords, usernames, host names, all your secure shell setups. All that is stored in the startup config. We're telling the router to bypass that, so it's going to load like it's a brand new router. Typing the word reset is just a power cycle command. It's just going to reset the power. And it causes the router to then reboot. As the router is rebooting, you could click on Packet Tracer's fast forward time, and it will just speed up the reboot. And check it out. The router is back online. But here's the thing. It's like, well, we lost the whole config. The router is back to router name. It's not lockdown. You go into enable mode. There's no password. Here's the cool thing. We didn't lose the config. Remember, the router just booted and said, I'm not going to look at the config. So here's the key. Now that we're inside the router, how do you save something? Usually you save your running config to your startup config. But here's what we're going to do now. Our running config is blank. Our startup config holds all the security. What we can do then is do copy star, pull from your startup config, and put it on top of your current blank config, and your blank config is currently the running config. So technically what you did, you've reset the fortress so the security restrictions are off of it. You then go into the fortress and then you put the security restrictions back on top of it after you're already inside. And so say, you sure you want to do this? Copy star run. Yep, I want to overwrite what I have right now with what's stored in that startup config. And here's the cool thing. The router name instantly changes to lockdown. If I do a show run, that enable secret is back online. But here's the cool thing. I'm already in privileged exec mode. I'm already inside of the router, and I reapply the security back on top of it. All I had to do is type in a new enable secret, like Cisco 123. I can actually look at any usernames and passwords he would have had stored. I can check out any IP addresses that were configured. I can check out all route statements. I can go through any type of encryption he has with Secure Shell. I can modify and make changes, or I can just record and be inside of his device. Just remember, this only works with physical access. Or if you're feeling very malicious, just erase the whole device and reload. And everything is gone. So keep that in mind. You have to have physical access to the device in order to do this. It comes in handy for yourself, and also it comes in handy for someone else when they want to try to get into your device. And that is it.